let's just sew whatever. I'm gonna get started on cutting out my Tracy wristlet. I have my pattern piece here. I ended up only printing out page 3, and then I'm gonna use the cut list that's on the 3rd page of the pattern. It's page 2, but when you count the cover photo, that doesn't count. I am using a mid-weight printed vinyl that I carry on my website. This print is not yet available, but it will be eventually, isn't it? It's so pretty. But it has a soft luxe backing. It feels like a microfiber. It's just one of my favorites to use. Like, it has a little bit of stretch and it wears nicely. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start by cutting out 2 of my main body panel pieces. I have printed out my pattern on a 90-pound cardstock paper so that I can reuse this again and again. Obviously, the best way to cut out a pattern is going to be with like acrylic templates, but that is not really an economic choice for us, you know? We can't buy templates for everything, especially a pattern that we're just trying out that we saw on the internet and we're like, I want to make that. I know lately I have been feeling overwhelmed by the amount of patterns that release and trying to keep up with it all. So it's kind of nice to just have a little project. Like, I'm just gonna make this one little thing. So you can use scissors or your rotary cutter to cut this out. I am not going to be interfacing my exterior at all. You could add a little bit of fusible fleece at the dashed line as she states in the pattern. But I don't want this to be too terribly structured. It's got a lot going on in the inside, and all of those seams will also give the bag structure. And then you're gonna put stuff in it. So that's gonna make a difference too. The shape of this reminds me of the Christie crossbody that Linds also has. So if you wanted to make like a really fun coordinating set, that would be a good idea. They would pair well together. Okay. I think another good way to kind of combat a sewing funk is just to pick materials that bring you joy. like I don't know if anybody would want this wristlet, but I'm going to make it because the vinyl makes me happy. This print brings me joy. Okay, so there's that. That's my main body. I'm gonna set this aside, put it in my lining pile because I'm gonna need that later. And then I'm gonna go through my cut list before I put my vinyl away, and I'm gonna see what else needs to be vinyl. So we've got zipper tabs down at the bottom. There's a wristlet strap. And that might be it. I think I'm gonna make my wristlet strap out of this green as well as my back anchor. I might also change up the back anchor a little bit so that it's not in the side seams, just because this vinyl is a little bit thicker. But I'll go ahead and cut out my zipper tabs. And the zipper tabs will also be cut down a little bit when we put it together to 1 1/4. And if you have scraps of other vinyl, like, use it for this part. Nobody will know. It'll be a fun little pop of color. All right, so these are going to be my zipper tabs. I'll go ahead and clip these together. I like to put everything I'm working on in a little box. Like this, and then I have, this is a photo holder. It closes, but I'll put all my little fiddly bits in there and close it, as well as my hardware. It helps keeps me organized, I feel like. So I've got my zipper tabs. So I have laminated parts of my cutting list, and using just a dry erase marker, I'll go through and cross off what I've already cut out. So I can go ahead and do my wristlet strap and D-ring anchor now. I'll put this vinyl away. This is Meadow Green from my website. It's a really glossy, soft vinyl. It's on the thicker side, but it's not a super dense vinyl, which is nice. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 by 14. There are pattern pieces for a lot of what we're cutting, but most of them are rectangles, and I was like, well, I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so I'm gonna measure down the center for my center line. In the pattern, it mentions that you could cut it to 1 inch if you're using vinyl, and that's going to be a single fold strap, since sometimes vinyl is a little bit thick to do the double fold, but I'm just gonna do the double fold. I like how squishy it feels. And then I'm gonna use some 1/2 inch double-sided tape. This is available on my website as well. It's from Weft and Warp Co. originally, and then I just buy it wholesale from her to carry all the time because I love it. It's a double-sided tape that you can actually just rip instead of having to use scissors, and it sticks really well. And it doesn't have that like insane odor that the one from Wawak has. Not that I don't like it, I just don't use it anymore. Okay, 10. Now I'm gonna cut out the D-ring anchor. I'm so bad I have to say it out loud so I remember it, but I can't when I'm filming a video. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mark out the center of this as well, so we have it. And then we'll end up taping this too. So I'll just do that now. Alrighty. It's our D-ring anchor. And then down at the bottom of the cut list is a fun little chart to show you what fabric goes where. If you want to like color block it or make it really fun, you can do that. But I think that's it for our vinyl. So this is a great little scrap buster. It did not take much of this print, took hardly anything of a contrast vinyl. So we just mostly need our lining fabric. There is a lot going on the inside of this bag, so keep that in mind. It is a lot to cut for the lining, but it's good. Packs a punch. So I am using a water-resistant canvas for my lining. It has a nice structure without being super bulky. And then it does have a little bit of a treated back, and the back side scratches white, so you know that is the wrong side of your fabric. So everything else I need to cut is my lining fabric, so I'm just gonna work my way down the list. I do like to start with the bigger pieces first, so that I'm taking up more of the fabric on the straight edge and then cutting out my little pieces from there. So I'm gonna grab an 8x24 ruler. Since most of the widths I need to cut are 8 inches, this is gonna be perfect. I won't be using any woven interfacing. This is going to be plenty structured. And then my ruler is 8 inches wide, and then I'm looking on the side where the numbers are starting at 1 and going down, and I have the correct height, double checking, and I only need one of these. So this is our card slot panel. We can set that aside. If you wanted to mark the back side with what the piece is, you could do that, or you could use little pieces of paper. And then I am crossing it off as I go so that so I know I did it. And again, what's awesome is that most of these are 8 inches wide, so you can just keep moving as you're cutting. One of my tips for cutting with a rotary cutter is to try not to overcut. So I'll try to show what I mean. Okay, so this one is smaller. So I'm going to press on my rotary cutter until I get to the top of the ruler, and then I'm gonna stop with the, I would say I'm using a 45 millimeter. The edge of my ruler is stopping at the circle. And then I will hold it over at the ruler where I can see the rotary cutter is actually pressing in right at the corner of my ruler and pressing. So I might have a little piece that I didn't cut, but I'd rather undercut than overcut. But I just pressed my rotary cutter into that, and there we go. There's that piece, and there is absolutely no little, cut lines. So I'll try to explain that again as I cut this next one, because that is a very helpful trick when you're using a rotary cutter. Like this piece here is almost too small to even worry about trying to do that, but I still will. So I'm going to cut, I'm pressing, I'm getting to the top. I see the inside edge of my rotary cutter nearing the ruler, so I'm going to stop and lift up. And then I can see where the rotary cutter is touching the fabric, and that's where I'll start and push and continue on. Again, I undercut just a little tiny bit, and then I'm just pressing. I'm just pressing and pushing forward. You don't want to like pizza slicer it. You want to just push away from you. Okay. 2. Nope. And then make sure you're also checking your cut quantities. So it looks like we're going to piece together the lining and then cut our shape. You might say, don't you know that? And the answer is no, because I haven't made it yet. And no, I didn't read the instructions before I started. You should though, you definitely should. All right, continuing on the cutting list. I almost feel like this would be a really fun pattern to just look through your scrap bin and use them up on all these little pieces that you've got to cut. All right. So this next one is the side accent, and you have to cut 4 of these, and they're 2 inches wide. So I'm going to cut it to the correct height, and then I'm going to cut it down from there, because I can just cut this one big piece. And instead of measuring that several times, you just measure the 7, or the height once, and then measure out your width. And voila. I'll clip all these together. Okay, side accent, got it. So now all that's left is our D-ring anchor stabilizer, but we actually don't need those if we're using vinyl. And then the cardstock stabilizer, oh, we do need that. That's just a little piece of Decaville Light. I love that. I love a pattern that uses up a scrap, because Lord knows we all have, yes, I almost tripped, little scraps like this sitting around. So this is barely even an inch tall. I'm like, hopefully I'm reading that correctly, but I'm pretty sure I am. Awesome. Well, that's it, y'all. That's cutting the Tracy wristlet. We did it in 17 minutes. Not bad. If you're interfacing a lot of your pieces, it's going to take longer. But if you're picking materials that don't really need interfacing and you know are going to hold up without interfacing, then your life has been made easier. I will hope to make this. No, I hope you will join me in making this next week or later this week, whenever that video is posted. And if you're watching this and it's months later, well, I've already made it. So go and join me. Okay, bye.